Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true.
Marriage for him is like making mashed potatoes.
Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light,
Let me ask you
the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view.
I'm glad you told me you couldn't hear me. Thank you. I appreciate you. What's up? What it do? It's restart. Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly, James Kirkland. And we are doing part 2 of Shame is a Liar. Last week, can y'all hear me now? If you can hear me, please put a 1 or something in the chat. But last week we had I had 8 points that I wanted to discuss with regards to shame. And part of my process, but in the process, we had a special guest, Keisha jumped on, and Keisha gave practical examples of shame, things that she went through after her divorce, and I really appreciated that. Y'all didn't really need what I had to say last week. Y'all needed what Keisha said, and what Keisha said really was enough, and it was sufficient for what we were trying to do. So real quick, I'll give you those 4 points that we went over last week, and you know what? We might not even. You still can't hear me? Hold on, let me bring you in. Y'all can't hear me for real? What is going on? Because it's saying that I'm transmitting on this end. Let me turn it. Let me make sure my mic is on because I want to. If you're in the chat and you can hear me, please put a 1 in the chat. I haven't shared it yet, so I got a little time. In fact, let's make sure our technical difficulties are good. Let's make sure our technical difficulties are good. What is going on here? I got a lot of weird stuff going on tonight, but it's okay. I promise you it is. We're going to make it work. Has anybody told me they can hear me or not? Hold on. Yeah, I got some people saying they can hear me. Can you hear me yet, Ann? In the background? Can you hear me? I got somebody that said that they can hear me. I want to make sure that y'all can hear me before I move on. Now the people the people in the chat say they can hear me now, so make sure your volume is up. Make sure your volume up because they said they can't hear me. So, real quick, let me give you these 4 points that we did last week with regards to shame. Number 1, I didn't know the difference between guilt and shame until it was too late. That was one thing Keisha and I discussed last week. Second thing, I kept showing up on the outside while disappearing on the inside. That was something that was real significant on last week as well. I kept showing up on the outside, but I was disappearing on the inside. Point number 3 that we discussed on last week was that I isolated, and when I isolated, I ended up allowing shame to run unopposed. Shame was really the only voice I heard. And when shame doesn't have any competition, of course, it gets to narrate the story any way that it chooses, right? Any way that it chooses. And point number 4 last week that I told was the story I was telling myself was written by the wrong narrator. The story I was telling myself was written by the wrong narrator. Now, listen, I do have some more points, but I don't really want to get to my points yet because I really want to get to my special guest. Tonight's guest has walked alongside several high achievers, seekers, and spiritualists who are tired of knowing better and still feeling stuck. Ann Alexis is the founder of Ann Alexis Holistic, a trauma-informed healing practice built on one core belief. You don't have to relive your trauma drama to move through it. With a master's in mental health counseling and training across energy work, somatic healing, and coaching, she studied in 70 countries and brought all of that back to one thing: helping people find emotional truth without losing their peace. Tonight, she's here to talk about what healing actually looks like when nobody's watching. In fact, she's going to help some of us really deal with this thing called shame. Let me go ahead and bring my special guest in. I'm super excited, so I don't want to hold her back any longer. And Alexis, how are you, ma'am? Are you there?
I cannot hear you.
What is going? I promise everybody else here. I want. Do you have earpiece or something? Or maybe I don't. I don't know why you can't hear me. I don't know. Do you have earbuds or something? Maybe. Got to get her in here, y'all. Let's pray, saints. Are you still? You still can't hear me? Hold on, yeah, we're gonna get this worked. We're gonna get this worked out tonight. We are gonna get this worked out. Hold on, yeah, we're gonna get this worked. We're gonna get this worked out tonight.
If now, I have it on my computer.
Get this worked out. Hold on, yeah, we're gonna get this worked. We're gonna get this worked out. Turn your volume all the way down.
I have it on my computer.
Get this worked out. Hold on, yeah, we're gonna get this worked. Turn your volume all the way down. Oh, if you turn your volume down, you won't be able to hear me, will you? Yeah. We got to figure this out. Pray, saints, for real, for real. Let me text. Y'all, we're gonna work this out. Stay with me right quick. Stay with me. Let me see if I can get her to maybe go out and come back in. What is going on? There's a lot of funny stuff going on with my. Okay, that's part of the problem right there on my end. Hold on, y'all. We're gonna get her in here in a second. What is going? There's a lot of weird stuff going on here. All right, can you hear me now? I'm about to refresh y'all. So if I refresh, it's gonna probably kick us out for a second, but we'll be right back. Hold on. We're gonna fix these technical difficulties. I don't know why. Hold on. Add. How about now?
Yeah, I just rebooted everything.
Okay, they said they heard you, Ann, but they didn't hear me. Okay, cool. You didn't get to hear any of the nice things I said about you and all your bio and all that.
I did not.
Well, good thing I tell you on the phone, so you already know those things. So no, I just read your bio to them. Now listen, you all, we're doing part 2 of Shame is a Liar. And what I did while you couldn't hear me, what I did was I gave them a brief of the 4 points I hit last week because we talked about shame last week. And for those that weren't here, the first 4 points was, and I'm doing real quick, I didn't know the difference between guilt and shame until it was too late. Number 2, I kept showing up on the outside, but while I was doing that, I was disappearing on the inside. So that was part of the shame. And number three, we got to I isolated, and this was a good one for me, Ann. I
Mhm.
isolated, but when I isolated, shame got to run unopposed because it was the only voice I heard. If shame is the only story that we get a chance to hear, then of course it's going to narrate it and say it the way exactly how it wants to say it. So that one really resonated. And then the other one, and I'm gonna let you talk. The other one was the story I was telling myself was written by the wrong narrator. So we did those 4 points last week. I had four more. I don't care about those tonight because I got you on the show, and we'll talk. I'll save those for another time. But Keisha came on, and Keisha, of course, was divorced, and she told her story, and it resonated. The room needed to hear Keisha last week more than it needed to hear me. And I think this week it needs to hear you more than it needs to hear me. Because those who don't know, Ann holds a master's in mental health counseling and training across energy work, somatic healing, and coaching. She studied in over 70 countries and brought all of that back to one thing, helping people find, here it is, emotional truth without losing their peace. And tonight she's here to talk about that. So tell us in depth a little bit more. Those that don't know what somatic healing and some of those other things are, tell us what that is, and then we'll get into our conversation tonight.
Okay. So, somatic healing is really just working with the sensory body system. So it's how our body feels or our nervous system responds to the things around us. And our nervous system and our physical responses to the things around us are how we actually register what's going on. That puts us into that fight, flight, or freeze mode, how our nervous system is impacted. So when we learn to read the signals that our body gives, we can recognize what's actually happening in situations, and we can
Mm,
also start to regulate our body systems to change our responses. And that's the key piece. Like if you think about the different ways that you breathe when you're in different moods. Like if somebody walks through the door and you're like, okay, what's wrong today?
mm,
Or if you get mad and you're like, all of those are somatic responses. They're physical responses to
okay.
emotions. So learning and teaching people about how to navigate those helps them navigate and regulate their emotions, because that's mostly what gets us into trouble. Not really being able to self-regulate.
Good, good. I'm glad I didn't do a whole lot of research on this, so I can learn as we go too. So good, good, good.
I
All
probably
right,
make
so
it sound a lot simpler than it
yeah,
does if you try to deep dive on it.
yeah, but that's what we need. That's what we need. Now listen, you all, this conversation is gonna get good. So I see 6 people in the chat, but only one person has liked this post. So I need all of y'all to like it real quick, and I need all of y'all to share it real quick. We have Ann Alexis with us tonight, and she's gonna share some nuggets, and I'm looking forward to it. She's gonna help us in the area of somatic healing. She's gonna talk to us about something with somatic healing. She's gonna talk to us through probably a little. We're gonna get a little free coaching session tonight. Shh, don't tell nobody. She might not need to say that out loud. But we're gonna get a free coaching session.
Call
But she,
in. Call in
but
with
she
your problems and your troubles.
called in. But what she's really gonna help us with tonight is she's gonna help those of us to deal with shame. Oh, Derek Harper's in the building. Oh man, what's up, coach? What's up, coach? That's my coach, y'all. But listen. I want to get it started like this, and when I ask you this question, wait about 3 seconds and breathe, because I want to give you the whole screen on this one. Okay. What I
Okay.
want to ask a question, because you're talking about somatic healing and how these things affect the body, right? I want to ask a question because we're dealing with shame. How does prolonged shame affect mental health? Hold on, because I want to give you the full screen. How does prolonged shame help contribute to mental health, negatively or positively? What does it do? Here you go.
Oh, I made a lovely little list because there's so many ways. So I just chose about maybe the top 5 to 7 ways. So many ways. But one of the ways is it makes us hide part of ourselves. Our needs, our feelings, our truth to stay safe. It can feel like perfectionism. It very much can fuel that, or overworking to earn worthiness. This definitely goes out to my ladies. Like, if I just do this, if I just do that, then everything will be okay. I can do it. I can fix it if I just do more stuff, provide more for other people. It drives people pleasing. and weak boundaries. So you say a lot of yes when you really mean no. It turns feedback into a threat so that you spiral into self doubt or shut down. That's what you were talking about, James. That's where you went when you isolated. You didn't have that counter narrative. And so you fed it, it was so much more easy to fall into that spiral. It keeps you stuck in avoidance patterns like procrastination and self sabotage, even not even starting things. It shapes relationships around proving yourself, more of that concept around having to earn worthiness. So you begin to overgive, tolerate less, fear being seen. So you showcase parts of you that aren't really the real you. It lives in the body too over time, which brings back that somatic conversation of chronic tension, anxiety, sleep issues, burnout, right? That's a very popular word these days. So it impacts every single, has the capacity to impact every single way that we navigate and every single aspect of life that we navigate through. And that's why it's so important to make sure that we reframe it and that we learn to manage it and that we begin to stop internalizing everything that's on the outside and making it ours. One
Mm.
thing to remember is that this whole experience that God is giving us, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us.
Mm.
And when we learn to recognize and ask the question more, what is the lesson here? How was, since we're talking always about divorce, how am I am I failing or am I liberating myself?
Ooh.
Right? I'm gonna drop
Oh.
the mic right there, Jay. Drop the mic right there.
Wow. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right, there we go. It's not move. Hold on. You said if it's happening, if it's not, we got to act, wonder if it's happening to us or happening for us,
Hmm.
because this could potentially be liberation. You dropped the mic, but I'm gonna get you to pick it up one more time, and I'm gonna get you to come down. If you came down Main Street the first time, come down Martin Luther King Boulevard and talk to some of the brothers and sisters right quick. Break that down. How is this? How am I liberated? Talk to me. And I know, but I want you to talk to some other people because they need to hear what you just said.
So when we're healing from divorce, one of the greatest feelings that we can have is a sense of deep failure and shame.
Mm, okay.
And that can quite often block our perspective. Oh, this is a great time for this. It can actually block our perspective from being able to see the truth. Okay. So
Mm.
the trauma lens. Let me back up. Okay.
Let me get you back up here.
So think about this like a lens, right? That you see through. This is the lens that you're born with. You're born, it's nice and clear. You're a star. That's why the star plate. So you're born with this nice clear lens. We come into the world and then we start to acquire different traumas in our lives, right? And we start to feel fearful and we start to feel depressed. Boop. And we start to feel frustrated and resentment builds up and heartache and anger.
Wow.
Can you still see me, James?
No, I can't see you.
You know what's
I
funny? I can't really see you either.
Wow.
And I also can't see myself.
Mm.
part of what I do in my work is I start to remove these things from your trauma lens, right? This is your trauma lens. This is your lens covered in trauma. Thus, it is your trauma lens that you are seeing the world through. You're seeing it through depression and frustration and anger and resentment, right? But when we start to peel these pieces back off, when we start to reveal what's underneath and we start cleaning that lens off, then we gain that clarity back. So the shame that we feel, the failure that we feel, that's all through a trauma lens. It's not the reality. It's just all the stuff that's stuck on my lens.
Yeah.
And when it gets removed, then once again, I can see a situation clearly. So that's the difference between being a victim of your circumstance and simply having been victimized, for example. And that failure, that shame is just all part of the trauma. But if we ask ourselves, quite often in those relationships, we were not happy. We were not satisfied. It's very rare that a relationship ends and one person was extremely happy and the other one wasn't.
Okay.
There is usually a continuity and discontinuity with a couple. So the question is, so number one, just because things hurt don't mean that they're bad. And number two, if you were to clean off that lens, if you were to reflect, if you were to think about more of the things that you wanted out of your life versus what that relationship wanted out of your life, you might find that that shame or that failure looks more like liberation, looks more like making space for new opportunities, looks more like removing yourself from something that was toxic or someone that was toxic in your life.
Yeah.
Or simply creating a space where you can feel more satisfied and more aligned with whatever your purpose is sent here from God, who, by the way, wasn't married and neither was Jesus.
Absolutely. Listen,
I don't know that they're the ones inflicting the shame, since that was
Yeah.
not even a choice that they made.
Listen, you all get it's interesting. And you know, you and I met a long time ago at Ed Voy's Hyundai. And one day I never will forget, I was walking through the showroom and it was a guy who so happened to be an optician. And I don't know what made him, I got at an angle where he could see through my glasses, right? He could see through my, and he's first thing he said was, "Man, you need to clean those glasses," you know, but because my lenses were so dirty, you know, they had grease on them. They, you know, I could, and I noticed that when I did clean my lenses, that my whole perspective changed. You know, I could see a whole, you know, a whole different way. So to juxtapose that to what you just said, as far as when we remove the fear, because lenses, some and filters, you know, a lot of us, that's how we view life in this world. You know what I'm saying? Everything is rosy, everything is, and it's interesting how we see the world, a lot of times how we see ourselves. So when the depression has ran its course, when the anxiety has ran its course, when the resentment has ran its course, when the shame has ran its course, when all and that's all that I've seen, then it starts to occupy space in my life. And I say this all the time, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. Every emotion needs a body, especially negative ones, right? And when we give that negative emotion our body to run with, some of y'all have not liked this post yet. Like it for me, please. Like it, share it, because Ann is going to explain some more things to us. We just like 15, 20 minutes in, so we're going to have a good time. But listen, explain that concept about every negative emotion needing a body, and what happens when we give it our body.
Well, we will store up negative emotion. So one of the things that we love to do is act like we're over things or tell ourselves that we've moved past things. And while we might have moved past them in our conscious mind, they are definitely held on to and stuck to that trauma lens. We have spiritual, right, physical ways that Trauma bonds to our bodies. That's why when you see people who are depressed, they're walking slumped down like this. You can feel and tell that someone's confident from across the room because of how they stand, how they engage with people. So trauma definitely lives in the body. It needs bodies to engage with in order to perpetuate its existence. I want to go out and I transmit more pain rather than transmuting it into power, right? I just need someone else to share this toxicity with me. And it spreads. It spreads through us onto other people, a lot of blame game, a lot of really struggling to take accountability and to recognize the role that we play in the perpetuation of the challenges that we have in our lives.
Wow.
It's really important that if we want something different, we start doing different things. Quite
Yeah.
often, we want life to change, and we're like, we say, I always attract this kind of person. I never get paid what I should be getting paid. But it's like every time we make a statement like that, we're actually disempowering ourselves
That's deep.
because we have complete authority over our lives. The shackles are broken. Let's act like it, right? We have authority over our lives. So when we recognize patterns like that, like I always feel like this and I always be hooking up with this kind of person, those are patterns that we recognize in our lives. And when we're willing to be aware of those patterns and then say to ourselves, how am I going to change this pattern of existence for myself? Then we can really start cleaning off that trauma lens, seeing ourselves more clearly, seeing the choices that we make more clearly, and then making different choices that are more aligned with what it is that we want.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Y'all see where this conversation is going. So I need you all to share this conversation. Okay, share this conversation. Now
Just getting warmed up.
yeah,
I'm
exactly,
trying to
exactly.
take it light, you know.
Please take it. Please take it light. I mean, no. Be yourself. Be yourself. Hey, listen, they
Oh,
gonna have to get you.
yeah,
Yeah,
but you
be
know, got to ease
absolutely.
into painful
Yeah,
conversations,
yeah,
and it's important to recognize that these conversations aren't easy to have. Conversations about feelings are difficult. One of the main reasons why we're difficult is because why they're difficult is because very few of us learn to have those kind of conversations in our home, especially Black homes. Oh, we love to keep secrets.
let's look. Somebody in the chat just said something, and I want you to respond to it. He said, or she, I don't know, sure. Said the trauma lens. Wow, I never thought of my trauma having a particular lens. I don't know. They said they never thought of their trauma having a particular lens. I think everything has its own lens. I mean, but you can speak to that better than I can. You're trained. It does every talk about that. I'm sorry. I talk about that.
No, I think that's a really common connection for people to make because it's like I said earlier, we will say that we are over things.
Hmm.
Oh, just the idea of trauma will shock most people. I don't have any trauma. Are you on the earth? Okay, then. You have
Trauma.
trauma.
Listen, people don't understand. Trauma travels, and it
It
travels through
does.
time. I mean, some of us are dealing with trauma from when we were 6 and 7 years old, when we saw how our daddy treated our mama, or how what it's all kind of trauma has a way, and it will revisit. Even the Bible says that the sins of the father visit. Even the next generation. So there's always some trauma that's out there. All right. There's always some trauma that's out there. Listen, we're at the halfway point. Now, I have a segment that I do every week, and
Okay.
it's in honor of my late mother. Okay. And I call it LaRue's. Now her middle name was LaRue. So I called it LaRue's Ingredients. So I thought I did. Let me see. Did I upload it? Hold on, let me make sure I uploaded it. If I didn't, I'm gonna get it right quick. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I got this uploaded right. I thought I uploaded it, but obviously I didn't. But I want to get my mom in here. But while I'm getting that in here, I do have a question for you. Okay, from a
Mhm.
somatic standpoint, what's happening in the body when someone is moving around pain instead of going through it?
Well, it definitely depends on the body. Um, we process things differently based on that trauma lens. So let's say you grew up in a house where there was a lot of yelling and violence, whether it was verbal or physical. There's just like a lot of violence going on. You could have been the type of person who tried to navigate and keep everything calm. You could have
Mm-hmm.
been the type of person that got angry back, right? You could be the type of person that isolates and just goes to your room and puts on your headphones and buries your face in a book or video games. It depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
But it lives in the body, in that adrenal system, in that fight, flight, or freeze mode, so that when it begins to come in later, we've already developed some sort of reactionary response to it, whether it's to shut down in a conversation, whether it's to disregard people by not making vulnerable or intimate connections with others, whether it is to people's favorite, be codependent,
Mm-hmm.
right? I called him and he hasn't called me back and it's been 2 hours. And so now I'm sending question marks, or she, or they, whatever you're into. The other person isn't contacting me back. And so now I'm sending question marks, and those question marks turn into threats. And then those threats turn into, I'm spiraling, right? So it lives in the adrenal system, it lives in the nervous system, causing all that tension, causing all that stress. But how it ends up being projected out into the world looks very different depending on the way that the person learned how to navigate those challenges in their lives. Whatever safety meant to them is the same way that
Mm.
it'll keep building on itself. Only the thing is that what is always familiar is not always safe. And
Wow.
so that's when we get all stuck, because we'll find ourselves pursuing things that feel familiar even if they're not safe. Like that same
Wow.
home that you grew up in, you are now dating that male or female that reminds you of your mother or father.
She said, "What feels familiar is not always safe," and that's interesting because what I've learned in the 53 short years of living is when you continue to go with what you know, you always end up where you were. You know what I'm
That part.
saying? So if you
Yes.
continue to repeat the same cycle, over and over again, and some people will do that and say they're doing the work, or say that they're healing, but they never, but that ing never turns into ed. Does that make sense? They always say I'm healing, but I never hear them saying I'm healed. How 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 do you bridge that gap to get from the ing to the ed?
It's important to recognize that healing is a journey. It's
Okay.
not a destination.
Okay.
So, but you can heal from certain traumas. But the interesting thing about that is you can only heal as much as you're triggered within your environment. So, here's the thing about that is that you'll be like, say you have a divorce, and then
Hmm.
you go to therapy for many years, and then you're like, you know what? I feel like I've healed from that divorce. And then you go into your very first relationship with someone since your divorce.
Mm.
And guess what you find yourself doing?
Bringing all that Trump baggage with you,
There you
all
go.
of it, making the
So
next
it's
person
like,
pay for what somebody else. I got to think I'm going through. I had a flashback. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's very real. I use that whole example for a reason.
Okay. Okay.
Like,
Okay.
yes,
Good. Good.
that is very real. And then what are we doing? Oh, we find that we are triggered about things that we didn't even realize because we hadn't been tested yet. So we love
Mm.
to quite often think, oh, I'm healed. Oh, I'm better. are you, or have
Yeah.
you not just had the opportunity to be tested yet?
Ouch. Ouch. I'm sorry. You quit stepping on. Since you stepping on toes, I'm gonna say ouch for the other people that don't hear you. So let me go ahead and put that out there. Ouch. Anybody else want to say ouch tonight? Listen, hold on. Ann is sharing nuggets tonight, and she's gonna do that all night long. But Ann is also here for us. Okay. So if you have questions, the phone number. Well, hold on. I don't have the phone on yet. But you can put your question in the chat. You're welcome to inbox me on Facebook if you're on Facebook. But Ann is here to answer questions. So while we have her in our presence, y'all take advantage of it. Let's go ahead and ask her some questions because Ann, for those that don't know, Ann has done the work and she's very well rounded. She's actually done research in like 70 countries. And I mean, this is probably irrelevant, but Ann has studied at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, so she's a chef by trade. She's very well rounded. She's lived in South America. She's been in Micro-Asia. She's been all over studying these different things. And it all comes back to one thing that she wants to do. She wants to help people find emotional truth without, keyword, without losing their peace. So while we have her here tonight, I want to make sure that we take advantage of that. So if you have questions, phone number is 404-860-2775. I have also put the link in the chat for those that want to come on camera. If you come on camera, be respectful because I do have a kick button and I will kick, and I wear size 12. So I will kick. I promise I'll kick you. Not hard, but I will nudge you out. But so be respectful.
I love that you made that culinary comment because it's the time that I spent in the culinary world that really propelled me into the space of plant medicine, which should definitely be another show. Because what a beautiful part of the journey. Healing comes in many mediums. And plant medicine is definitely great for decolonizing the mind and learning how to reframe.
Hold on, Ann. We got a call. Hold on 1 second. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Let's see what we got. Oh, Lord, I'm nervous. All right. Skylar, how you doing? Going pretty good. Hold on. Let me get you in the screen. Hold on. I don't have you on yet. Give me 1 second. 1 second. I'm gonna get you in. What's your name again? Okay, cool. Let me get Skylar in here, guys. What's your name again? All right. All right, hold on. Skylar, talk. Let's make sure. We'll see if we can hear him. Hold on. Hold on. I don't think I got him on. Hold on.
Oh, I'm here. Just waiting.
All right. Can y'all hear Skylar? If you can hear him, put a 1 in the chat. Talk, Skylar. Let him hear you.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. We can hear you. Let's go. Talk to us.
Hey, yeah, I just want to say congratulations to my beautiful cousin sitting on the screen doing a big thing. But,
that was you.
With my life that I got going on right now, I already know she knows what's going on. So go ahead and give me the good.
Are you ready, Skylar? Okay. Do you want to tell the audience a bit about your situation first?
Did you hear us, Skylar?
It's going in and out, but say it again.
She said, do you want to tell the audience a little bit about your situation first?
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
All right, go ahead. You got the floor. Go ahead and talk to us for a minute. Tell us what's going on.
Oh, okay. So right now I am in a situation where my wife and I aren't seeing eye to eye. We aren't speaking. And we're having some parental issues as far as where the kids are supposed to be, who's supposed to be watching them, who's supposed to be raising them. And I say all of that to say I've been dealing with this person for almost 10 years. So going forward, how do I become the best version of me, also leaving behind a shed of skin from the past to walk in the future with the children?
All right. And I'm gonna give that one to you. He's asking his cousin. You go ahead.
Well, Skylar, it all starts with the 3 C's of communication. Because everything that you're talking about, even wanting to shed that skin and leave something for your beautiful children, is all about how you're going to communicate with not only yourself, but your wife and the children. So I want to give everybody an opportunity. We're going to walk through this together. The 3 C's of communication are calm, clarity, and compassion. Because what is required is a real conversation, not a situation where we're blaming, not a situation where we're yelling or arguing about things that happened today, but a conversation where we stay focused on what it is that the goals are, which would be protecting the kids, keeping them safe, making sure that they have stability. So, in order to have a conversation about how to do that, we have to be able to have positive communication. And that's almost where every single relationship begins to falter. Is it an inability to communicate the thoughts and feelings without getting highly emotive? We have to be able to self regulate. So, step 1 is calm. And what that means is we don't have conversations when we've been drinking. We don't have conversations we don't have tough conversations after we've been drinking or doing drugs. We don't have them after we've had a long and hard day at work. We choose times that are calm when we feel calm, and also we recognize that our partner's in a calmer space. That's when we initiate conversations that are solution oriented and going to move us forward. So, the second thing about that is clarity. This is probably the hardest piece. In order to have clarity, we have to be able to articulate what it is that we want very specifically. A lot of times people say things like, I need you to be a better communicator. Okay, well, I don't know what that means. That means something different to every single person that's saying it.
Mm.
Just like a fingerprint, everybody thinks that communication is something different based on how they grew up in their own homes, right? So, we have to be really clear. And in order to be clear, you have to know what you want as well. And this is where a lot of people get into trouble because they don't realize that when when it comes time to being clear, it becomes very difficult to actually articulate what you want in a very specific way. Like, I want to have the kids 3 times a week from these hours to these hours. Clarity, right? If you say something like, I need for you to be a better communicator, you have to articulate the specifics of that, which could sound like no yelling when we're having discussions, no putting hands on people during conversations, and speaking to me in a way that is not blaming me, but solution oriented. Even that's a little vague, but I'm coming up with it on. So, clarity. Oh, turn down that other volume, Skylar.
Okay, sorry. I just can't hear her on the phone.
Oh, you can't hear her on the phone. Okay. He can't hear you on the phone, so he's trying to do the volume in the background.
Okay,
Okay,
turn the
it's
volume
good.
up and then just mute your phone till you get ready to talk.
There you go.
And then that third C is to have compassion. We have to have compassion for ourselves, but also the people that we're communicating with. So here's the thing. The only reason why people are acting out and being all, aggressive or wild or, calling you all the time, they're hurt. They're hurt and they can't articulate their pain. So they're acting out, just like children having tantrums. Right? The child just wants attention, but it can't say, I want attention and I need it now. So it acts out. Right? So we want to have compassion. If these are husbands and these are wives, these are people that we love, or at least there's somebody that we loved once. So we have love for them. If it's somebody that's born your children, then there's love there. And there also needs to be compassion there. God leads with love and compassion. And if we want to stand in light, we need to lead with love and compassion as well. So we not only need to speak our piece and be clear about what we want, but we also want to have enough compassion in our hearts to then listen and hear what the other person has to say. Does that make sense? Unmute your phone so we can hear your
I'm
response.
here. Yeah, that makes total sense, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity to even ask this question and put my life on the forefront to your audience. So I appreciate your time. I love you, Annie. And if there's anything else you want to say, go ahead, let it rip. I'm gonna go back on mute.
Absolutely. Well, I have a question for you, which is what do you want when we can try this, we can use this moment to work through the concept of clarity a bit together so that you actually have some asks when you go, so that you can be clearer when you get into these conversations, because the clarity acts as an anchor. When people get into arguments, they start going off in all these tangential spaces. And a lot of times they forget what they were talking about and they start talking about some stuff that happened a year ago, last week, earlier this morning. And when we have clarity, it gives us a compass that gives us our North Star on that compass. So if you were to break it down right now, can you articulate what you want from the relationship, what your most immediate goal in the relationship is? And it's fine if you can't, because that's where you know to
My
start,
immediate
right?
goal in that specific relationship, or at least I need to speak to the past. What I wanted and what I still want, even though it may not be with that specific person, I want to be able to be evenly matched and have the same desire to drive the relationship forward with doing the individual work and the work together. I don't believe in the way that I've been living in the past is taking all her trauma and all her drama on and putting it on my life or in my personal thoughts and trying to protect her before I even protect myself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Very much. That's a great description of people pleasing, which is a part of what we were talking about earlier around this trauma lens. We grow up in houses where there's conflict and we want to keep the peace. So what do we end up doing? We end up taking on the burdens and the baggage of the people within that household. And it sounds like in so many ways, you're still doing that in your new relationships. So, one of the main things that you'll want to do, because you've got to change you. We're not going out here and changing other people. That's their responsibility. So, one change that you can make inside of yourself in recognizing where you end and other people begin is to start drawing boundaries between yourself and toxic relationships, to begin to reframe and to say that, to remind yourself that others people's baggage is not yours to carry. That's the reframe that you have in your mind when you go into these situations and you feel yourself falling into old patterns. That's a reframe that you can use. You can start immediately using that. When you find yourself reaching to go regulate someone else's emotions as they're unburdening and unloading on you, you remind yourself their baggage is not mine to carry. And the more you begin to reframe that and recognize that, it increases your self awareness and your ability to see when you're doing that. And then the more you can recognize when you're doing it, you start to see the pattern of how you're doing it, and it becomes easier to stop. But what we can't do is just pick a new person and say, I want to be in a relationship where I'm healing with someone and then just pick a new person. We have to learn to heal on our own and have techniques for healing on our own, then go into a relationship and share those techniques with someone else who also has their own healing techniques. That's how we stop carrying other people's baggage, is by ensuring that they have a system to navigate their own baggage. We want to evaluate people before we get into relationships with them, making sure that they're stable and have ways of connecting with themselves so that we don't end up carrying that baggage for them. So it's not just about wanting it, it's about creating it by changing your behavior and your choices. You can't just pick everybody that's fine and sexy. You have to figure out whether or not they're compatible with you and where you are at the time. We love to choose relationships based on convenience
Right.
instead of recognizing actually who people are by spending time with them and getting to know them. Just like a lot of people love to like have a checklist of what they want in a person. And then instead of actually looking at a person and learning how they behave, they just run through a checklist. Which anybody could say, yeah, I do that. Yes, I do that. Yes, I do that. But it
Wait,
matters
hold
what
on, hold
people
on,
do.
hold
It
on,
doesn't
hold on,
matter what people
hold on,
say.
hold on, Ann, hold on. So you telling
Yes.
people that, because I know people who have their list and they're not
Yeah.
going to deviate from those lists. I mean, they have to have this, they have to have that, they have to have that. So you're saying that those preconceived lists really we shouldn't operate with those, or how? I mean, I know we should have standards. I know we should,
And that's all I was going to say. You can have
okay.
standards, but here's the thing. Do you want somebody coming to you with a checklist?
I don't.
Then don't go to someone else with
I
one.
don't. Yeah.
If you don't go ask anybody for anything that you're not willing to give. That's the golden rule. Don't ask for anything you're not willing to give. So if you don't want to answer the phone every single time someone calls you, do not yell at someone about how they don't answer the phone every single time you call. If you don't want somebody to come into your life and treat you like a child and make sure that you did all of your chores on your checklist, then don't do that to someone else.
Reciprocity, absolutely.
Reciprocity, right?
Reciprocity.
We can't heal together unless we both have healing systems that we're bringing together. Either way, if we don't do that, then you're just looking for the other person to heal you, and you're doing it under the guise of saying we're healing together.
Oh God, you hurt me tonight. She said that we have to have two healing systems and bring those systems together. Otherwise, I mean, I'm listening tonight. Normally, I'd be doing other stuff. I'm joking. I'm playing, but but otherwise, we're waiting on somebody else to heal us.
Yes, if you don't have a healing system, we can't heal together because you don't have a system. That makes me a teacher, which how's there reciprocity in that? And then how do I keep in my mindset that we're at the same level? How, and we do want to be, how are we going to share something if we don't see each other as equals? We're not going to share anything.
We're not.
There's always going to be a power, what's the word I'm looking for, James? Like a discrepancy in the power ratio, right?
Yeah,
And then I
unbalanced.
start talking down to you because you don't understand anything, and then all of the drama starts. All the trauma starts, right?
Yeah.
But you have to have separate healing mechanism. That's one of the things I ask, not as a checklist, but as a get to know you question. What do you do when you're upset?
Yeah.
What do you do when you have a bad day? Those are the kind of questions that I ask when I date people. And if you're like, I watch television, if you tell me that you go out drinking with your bros when you get upset, you are not a person that is positive for me.
And that's okay. Because
And
and
that's
it's good, and
fine.
it is, yeah, we're just not for each other, and that's good. I mean, no, I don't do that, y'all. I mean, I wouldn't say that in general. I'm just saying that it's okay for people once you realize, because
I
I ain't
didn't
gonna
used
lie.
to ask those questions. I ask those questions now.
I get, but I get sick of
But I've learned.
some of these buzzwords, like red flags and shenanigans, it's toxic. I think they overuse, and I think sometimes we miss the green flags looking for the red flags. But there's a difference between a red flag and a stop sign. You know what I'm saying? Red flag is implied, but a stop sign means. So when I've noticed something that is a deal breaker for me. Let's put it that way. You know what I'm saying? It's okay just to stop. I don't have to keep looking for more flags. If we've decided that I'm not going to allow you to talk to me like that, or because one thing I cannot do, and like I said, you've been knowing me for a few years. I can't. Now, and it's a childhood trauma. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's rooted in a childhood trauma. One thing I cannot stand is when a woman yells at me. I just don't do it. And the reason because I heard somebody yell at me in my childhood and I couldn't yell back. You know what I'm saying? And now in my adulthood, I'm not arguing with nobody I can't fight. And I don't fight women. You know what I'm saying? So, and when people argue, sometimes that escalates. Especially if you don't know how to argue, it's one thing
Right.
to learn how to argue, learn how to have discussions, all those types of things. But when the decibels change, you know what I'm saying, and we're getting aggressive, talking crazy to each other. Me personally, this little cancer inside of me, I go right inside my shell, and I put up a do not disturb sign, probably draw a middle finger on it, whatever I got to do to get you away from me in that moment. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
that's something that I heard. And we talk about how trauma travels. That's something I heard in my childhood and I couldn't respond. So I think it affects me even now. We still got your cousin on the line. Are we? I'm sorry, bro. We got you on hold. I apologize. You still there, man?
Yeah, man. I'm still here. It's all good. Like I said, I can only hear you when you're talking live on the phone, and I can't hear my cousin. So I'm swapping back and forth myself. So don't even worry about me. I'm just fly on the wall, James.
I got you. Are we through with him? We can let him go back in the chat if he wants to. And y'all, do me a favor.
I think so.
Y'all converse with each other in the chat. Converse, talk to each other. Let's share. This is a safe space. I'm reading your comments. If it's something that I need to have Ann address, I will. Somebody just said something about you a minute ago, and they said for you to be able to do this live, they said you're really gifted. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you going to say? You know what, James?
Well, I love that example that you gave. So number one, most of our stuff is childhood trauma. So I appreciate you bringing that up. But here's the thing. So that's what goes on your list, right? Not how much someone earns, not what their hair looks like, not their weight size, nothing like that. What goes on your list when you're dating someone, what your question is, one of them, how do you communicate when you're mad?
Let me write that down.
Right? That's what you're looking for. You're trying to figure out whether or not you're compatible. So you start with knowing who you are and what you need. That's where a lot of people get lost. They're chasing stuff that other people told them they wanted, other people told them they needed. They haven't gone inward and actually determined what it is that they want and what it is that they need. They're just following what society told them they're supposed to want and need. But when you do the work, like you've done so much work, James, when you do the work, you realize what triggers me, what upsets me, what do I need from a partner? You need a high level communicator that can have a tough emotional conversation without yelling. Then that's exactly what you ask about when you're dating someone or getting to know someone. Like when you get really heated and really upset, what do you do? Do you go inside yourself? And they're like, yeah. And then you're like, oh, me too. Like whatever. And then you can talk about it or whatever. And if they're like, man, I pop off because it's on now, then you're like, you know what? It's been a nice night and appreciate you. But you know that that's not the person for you. What we like doing is getting involved in relationships when we're really young, before we know who we are, committing to those relationships long term, and then figuring out who we are in the relationship and deciding, oh, you know what? Maybe this wasn't the best choice. Our brains are not fully formed
Oh,
until we are 32 years old, and we are getting married almost always before that. And then we're wondering why we feel stuck or trapped or oppressed or this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, because it's not the Disney Channel and you haven't acquired the skills that are necessary to really be in a high functioning relationship, which is what you need when you start birthing babies. You need high functioning communication levels to make things work.
that's good stuff. Deneen's son said the very first question he asked a woman is this: "What do you pray for?" If you, hey,
Ooh. I love that because it lets you know whether or not somebody stands in the light. It lets you know what's really on their mind, right? Because the things that we tend to pray for are the things that we want and desire the most.
hmm,
So I think that's a great question. And I
uh,
think the next question to that is like, so how is you getting that
uh,
thing? How are you getting the thing that you're praying for? Because I hope you're not waiting for God to sweep down and do it for you. So like what are you doing to get those things that you want? How are you making that happen in your life?
yeah,
And then you just get to know that person more. You get to know whether or not they feel secure, insecure about certain ways that they navigate the world. You get to learn more about their perspective, right? And ultimately, those are the kinds of things that are going to connect you to someone and create intimacy in a
yeah.
relationship.
Intimacy. That's a good word. That's a good word. I'm glad you brought that up. Since you brought it up, let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Now, listen, because this whole piece about really connecting to someone else. It's hard, like you said, it's hard to do that when you don't know yourself, when you're trying to find yourself in someone else, right? So that's you're not the best version of yourself. But when you finally do go through that moment of self-discovery, right? When that your spidey senses go off and the light bulb goes off, and now I know who I am, and I'm so secure in my manhood. Now that whole intimacy piece changes, right? Because there's transparency. I heard somebody say intimacy is when into me you see, or into me, I let you see inside of me, right? So when you talk about what intimacy is, uh because I think a lot of people look at intimacy as cuddling on the couch, and it's the precursor to having sex, whatever. But explain on a deeper level what intimacy is. Wait a second, because I got to give you the stage on this one right here. Hold on,
Okay.
let me give you. Here you go. Tell us, talk about intimacy.
Well, the first thing I want to say is you're not going to know who you are until you remove the shit from your trauma lens. You've got to remove those things in order to know who you are. Because if you don't remove those things, you are going through life being reactionary because of all of that trauma on your lens. So that's number one, which will definitely get in the way of intimacy, which is really just creating safe spaces for other people to exist without judgment, right? That's what fosters intimacy. Intimacy is not as much about sex as it is about emotional connection. In order to make I create intimacy all day long with all of my clients. It has nothing to do with sex. It can be sexual, but that's not the root of it. The root of it is a safe space for a person to communicate with you about who they really are. If a person feels safe to communicate with you about who they really are, they will tell you everything. That's intimacy. We are intimate with our best friends. We are intimate with some of our lovers. We are intimate with our parents, right? Intimacy is about sharing emotional connection. And that can't be done if a person feels unsafe.
That's good. Yeah, listen, this is a valuable conversation. Y'all know I normally cut it off right at 9, but I got her, so I'm gonna keep her for a few more minutes while I can, while I got her. Okay, so give me a few more minutes, couple more questions. The phone line is still hot. The link is in the chat if you want to come on camera. Just as long as you come on and be respectful, that's fine.
And if you
you
get
know what?
those three
They can't
C's of
call.
communication down, intimacy becomes so easy and so much more fun. And you don't feel that sinking pit in your stomach whenever you get vulnerable. Yeah, if you get those
Yeah.
3 C's down, because then you can stand on business.
Those that might have missed the 3 C's, let me give them to you again. Here they are. 3 C's of communication are calm, clarity, and compassion. Those are the 3 C's that Ann Alexis has shared with us. Are the 3 C's of communication. So that if you don't leave with anything from this conversation tonight, and honestly, every time, one thing I try to tell you is I don't try to give you right or wrong answers. I try to give you relevant answers. Now, tonight I brought someone in who is, trained in this area. Knows this is what she does, and she has several clients, and she told you she has to be intimate all day long because she has to know each one of them individually, and those she gives them tools to heal. And tonight she's giving you
A
tools,
lot
free
more than
tools.
several, James.
Yeah.
Don't play me down like that.
Several is more than one, but I know you got to plan, but I've given her, she's given. That's my friend, y'all. She has given us free tools tonight. And those free tools are the 3 C's of communication. If you don't leave with anything else tonight, you can take those practical points and start to actually practice them. When you find yourself trying to communicate with someone, find yourself communicating with someone, you can ask yourself, am I being calm? Is there clarity in this conversation? Am I being compassionate? And if I'm not, then maybe I should reevaluate the way I'm communicating. And then once I reevaluate how I communicate, then I can foster effective communication. I think the most important thing in communication is effective communication, right? It makes no good for us to talk at each other if we're not talking to each other.
Right.
Because when we get through, there should be some type of understanding, and there should be some type of go ahead.
If you've chosen someone as a partner, you should not be afraid to tell them anything. And if you're afraid to talk to your partner, then you have to reevaluate your entire relationship. A partnership is not full of fear. That would make it more like a tyrannical relationship or oppression or something. If you're with someone and you feel like I can't tell this person this, then you've got to reevaluate yourself and your entire relationship, because relationships should not be founded on fear. And the person that's with you is not your parent, it's your lover.
Yeah.
Right? We have this thing where we love to parent each other. Don't come into my life and parent me. I'm grown. Right? And then it's like the men feeling emasculated and women feeling unseen and unheard. And it's just a perpetual loop, all because everybody's looking at things through this lens of trauma, not really saying what is true, but more often saying what people want to hear in order to preserve a relationship. And then you're starting to build a relationship on lies, which shuts down all the intimacy. And then you come home and nobody's there, and then you're wondering where they went. And it just builds. So sorry, I interrupted. Please continue.
No, you just said something.
Yeah,
No,
like,
I mean, listen, certain nuggets that you say that when you say them, they resonate. And I see myself in the past. I see other people. You said that we say things that we think people want to hear. And you and I were talking the other day. We talked offline the other day. Well, we were talking, and you said, well, James, you're a fixer. You're a man. You want to fix. The first thing you want to do is you want to fix it. And sometimes it doesn't need to be fixed. Sometimes, go ahead to explain that conversation a little bit.
well, I was really upset because my freezer had broken, and
I didn't think you were gonna go that deep into the conversation, but go ahead. You can tell him. Go ahead. I'm joking. You can go ahead and tell him. I'm joking.
gotta give context. I don't
Give
like
context.
this world
Give
without context.
Give
Context is
context, man.
important.
Give
Point is, I was
context.
crying on the phone. And it wasn't because of anything that you did, but I was upset about something. I shared that with you because we like to do voice memo exchanges. So I kind of broke down while I was talking about the thing. And you were like, I don't know what to do to fix this in this moment, because the thing was like not something that was really feasible. But so you were like, I don't know what to do to fix it in this moment. But I think you're a wonderful person and really amazing. And I was like, that's great. You don't have to fix it. Like,
Yeah.
I know how to regulate my emotions. These tears are a process of doing just that. And then
Yeah.
you watched me. I think the important piece is what you have to say, because what you did was you watched me go through that probably about 20-minute self-regulation pattern.
That's what it was. That's what it
And
was.
then at the end, you were like, wow. Like,
Yeah.
because then I was like, oh, now I see why this happened. I see the lesson in it, because the Lord did tell me to stop messing with that milk. And so it was like a whole thing, and made those
Total 180.
connections.
Total
Yeah,
180.
total.
But this is the lesson in that, because we're talking about shame, we're talking about self-regulation, we're talking about all these things. As a woman, you shouldn't depend on him to help you regulate. And as a man, you shouldn't feel responsible to help her regulate. That all I said was listen. And I remember exactly what I said. I said, listen, I don't know how to support you in this moment, but I'm here. I'll listen. But beyond that, you know you're a wonderful person. Something like that.
Which is the truth, right?
Yeah.
But how many times in your other relationships did you not say, I don't know what to do? How many times did you just throw stuff against the wall and hope that it's stuck, right? Like, I told you, I don't need you to regulate my emotions. I can process them on my own. It's okay for me to cry. That is a normal part of processing a strong emotion. It'll also be okay for me to get angry when I get angry. That's part of it too. Now, laying hands on someone else, spitting on someone like I used to do back when I was younger, doing, oh, yes, change has happened, people.
Oh God.
Change has happened. I'm so
Well,
glad y'all are meeting me now,
thank
right?
you, Lord.
Change has happened. I know, especially
But
due to COVID. It's a good thing I don't do that kind of stuff
but
anymore.
but
But
Aunt
like,
Alexis,
peep me
I'm sorry.
20 years ago, 25 years ago. Yeah,
But James a few
when
years
I didn't know
ago,
how to regulate my
but
emotions.
listen, no, honestly, but James a few years ago wouldn't have said, I don't know how to help you in
I
this
know
moment.
you wouldn't have. Yep.
I probably would have avoided it altogether, because I don't want to be pulled down as well. I would have avoided it because I know I didn't have the answer and I don't like failure. I would have avoided it on several different levels. But in that moment, when I felt you, I said, okay, I'm not gonna retreat. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I don't like. I've been in ministry 32 years, but for a long time, I didn't like going to the hospital. I didn't like going in places where I knew people were dealing with traumatic situations and situations. So in that moment, a few years ago, James Kirkland would not have said, I probably would have, because we're doing voice notes, and I like voice notes a lot of times. Y'all don't have, I have a confession. I like voice notes sometimes better than having regular conversations, because it gives me a break. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't have to keep, because I hate dead space in conversations. So Ann and I, when we talk, most times, probably 80% of our conversations are probably voice notes, right? We talk like that. And it's cool. She hadn't complained about it. I haven't complained, because we have effective communication. We get to say everything we want to say uninterrupted. But then when we have regular conversations, when we talk on the phone, we might talk for 2 hours. Who knows? If she has time, because she's like busy, y'all, all day long, every day. She had to block out her schedule even to do this tonight, so wouldn't nobody take that space. But my point is, I think, because a minute ago we talked about healing versus healed, right? And I a few months ago I said something on one of my shows. I said maybe I'm at a certain point I might not be healed, but at least I hope to get to a point where I'm healed enough to go to the next stage, right? I might not have experienced absolute healing, but I'm better now. My shirt says on the path to better. I'm better now. You know what I'm saying? And that prepares me for the next phase. When I responded to you like that, I didn't think about it in that moment, but I did think about it later. I said, would I have said that in the past? And you acknowledged it. And that made me feel better, because one of my love languages are words of affirmation. When you speak, that's another reason, words of affirmation. You can't yell at me, because you can't yell at me with the same mouth that you
Oh,
affirm me with. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
is that? I didn't think you were going to say that.
No,
You just got it. You just got it just now.
bless. Bless.
Um, but also to that point, I also shared with you after when you were like, that was really amazing to just like watch you go through that. And now we're back to having a normal conversation. And I was also like, yeah, that's also intimacy,
You did say that.
right?
You did say
You created a safe space. I walked into that. I felt comfortable enough to be in that safe space. You were honest with me in that safe space when you said, I don't know what to do because you're crying over melted trash. And then I was like, you don't have to do anything. I'm
that.
just having a moment because I've lived a certain kind of life and this means something to me when this
Yeah.
happens. And you were
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm here for you. And then I caught the lesson, sent it to you, and you're like, wow, and just that experience right there makes it so much easier for you to trust being vulnerable around me. And
Yeah.
then that's how you create safe spaces,
Yeah.
right? Like you create safe space, I walk into it, I reinforce that safe space. And then now you know that you have a safe space to walk into when you're ready. You don't
Yeah.
have to think, oh, she's going to yell. I've already seen her regulate her emotion. So I know that
Absolutely.
I don't have to worry about that, right? We show people, we don't tell people who we are. We show people who we are. We show
Yeah.
people what we're about by giving things time to breathe, which people don't like to do these days. When you were talking about earlier about how when you realize that you're not being calm, clear, and compassionate, and then you reevaluate, I say put a pin in it and come back to it in a couple days.
Okay.
Because you need a minute. Because if you're doing all of this, if you're not able to do these three things, then you need to be doing more work than just let me take a 5 minute shower or let me let me take a walk around the block. Like you
That's
really
good.
need to give it some thought. So putting pins in things and talking about them later is really important and something that a lot of people have trouble doing in relationships. Shutting up and letting it go for a minute. Your whole day doesn't need to be about one moment in your day.
Wow. Somebody need to tweet that, put it on Facebook, but y'all better give her credit. We can get the hashtag and Alexis when you do it. Say it one more time, please, for the people in the back. Say it one more time.
What-
Your whole day.
I was channeling.
Your whole
Your whole
day.
day doesn't have to be based on one moment of your day. And we love to do that. Like
That's so
get a
unfair.
fight with somebody in the morning, then you still talking about it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Let it go.
That is so unfair to the rest of the day, isn't it? You're
It
gonna give that
is.
one moment.
It's craziness.
The I,
Why would you give the whole day up to one argument with one person who has an attitude problem about something that you know isn't even real? Because half the time it's not. It's just trauma and silliness. It's just trauma up in your face. And somebody not knowing how to manage it. So they transmitted it to you instead of transmuted it into their own personal power.
mm, 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 mm.
But it's like, no, you're not about to derail
Ah,
my day. I'm not going to give you the power to do all of that. But you
that's
can only
good.
do things like that if you know who you are.
Yeah.
You have to know who you are and what you stand on. In
Yeah.
order, you have to take your power back, your authority back from all the places that you've given it up to and start using it. Like you give your power away when you let somebody run your day into shit. Like, no, you can't do that. You can't
Ah.
just yell at me and throw me off. I was made tougher than that. I'm God's child. Stop.
Listen, hey,
Stop.
if y'all are enjoying Ann, just throw some fire in the chat for me right quick. If she's dropping bars, drop
I'm
some
a
fire,
fight.
drop some bars, drop something. If y'all are enjoying her, I can't do it. Well, I'm gonna do it. I guess I got my phone right here. I can drop some fire in the chat, but I need y'all to drop some fire in the chat for real because she is really blessing us with a conversation tonight. And listen, and I'm gonna tell y'all how to connect with her at the end of the show if some of you all want to want some help going forward because she does this is her living, this is what she does, and she's done the work to get to this space. When she tells you she's spitting in faces and stuff, she means that. Okay, this Ann has lived a really have you lived outside of the US in your adult life more than you have?
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
70
yeah,
countries.
I 20 years abroad, just 19 years abroad. I just came back in 2019.
and she's backpacked across Europe. She's done. I mean, y'all, she's done. She's cooked on been a chef on yachts and cruise ships. She's lived in different countries, working in hotels. I mean, she's done all kind of things as a
Studying with
young
chefs and shamans. That's what
as a
they do.
young African American lady. She has done this, and that's why she speaks with the confidence she does. That's why she speaks with the assertiveness that she does, because she's not telling you what she hasn't experienced. Okay, these are real life, and she talks to me sometimes about the differences outside mentalities outside of the United States versus those inside, and how she manages those relationships. So anytime I'm in her presence, whether it be on the phone or whatever, I learn something, and I appreciate that. And it's not that I'm looking for her to be my teacher, but I definitely appreciate somebody who can go half and beyond. You said something a minute ago. I think the word you were looking for was balance, right? You really want to, you want to find something that just balances you out. And when you're having the right conversations and you're sharing, that's what ends up happening, right? Because otherwise you get bored. And no, I appreciate you. So we're in the last about 10 minutes. We're gonna wind this down in 10 minutes, okay? We're gonna, because if we don't, I know we can, and we would talk, and I know we're in the retro, whatever that thing. I'm gonna be sleepy in a few minutes.
I have some
So
shame reframes.
Give it to him then. Let's give us some shame reframes.
Okay, so when you find yourself sitting in these shame spaces, which you know that you're in when you find yourself overworking and burning out, feeling like you have to be perfect, shutting down or avoiding, procrastinating or self sabotaging, trying to prove yourself in a relationship, over explaining, over justifying, shame's coming in, shame's coming in. So these are a few reframes that you can use. Reframes are just when you recognize and have the awareness that something negative like shame has creeped in, there's language that you can tell yourself instead of spiraling into that shame. The reframes are: this is a shame response, not the truth. I can be accountable without abandoning myself. And one moment doesn't get to rewrite my whole story. These are the 3 shame reframes that I like the most. So when you find yourself preparing to spiral downwards and talk to yourself like a piece of trash, instead of doing that, you're going to want to choose one of these 3 reframes and begin repeating that instead. You don't just say it one time, you say it repeatedly until you start to feel your energy, that somatic response, shift. Your shoulders drop. Your breath becomes more paced. Maybe if you have sweaty palms, they start to dry up a little bit. Whatever kind of anxiety responses you have, you will feel them sort of begin to neutralize when you use these reframes. Okay, James, you can come back.
All right. Hold on. Here I come. Here I come. Here I come. Here I come. Sometimes this computer wants to move slow. Hold on. I'm trying to come. I'm pressing the button. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I promise I'm pressing the button. There we go. Sometimes it's want to move slow. I was trying. Look, I'm over here typing shame reframes, trying shame reframes. Listen, I'm doing these. Ann is my friend, so I'm trying to give her, when we do these type things, this is content. So sometimes I give her a single screen because I want to give this to her so she can use it with her clients and all those types of things, and in her space as well. So that's what I'm trying to do. But no, tonight has been nothing short of amazing. I got so many notes that I haven't gotten to, and that's fine. I don't care nothing about those notes. I just like
to part 3.
we can do part. Yeah, we definitely can do part 3 as soon as
Talk
possible.
about shame forever.
Forever. And I mean, because I didn't even get into I was going to talk about the polyvagal theory, how it establishes that the nervous system must feel safe before emotional healing can occur. Meaning you can't think your way out of a shame spiral. The body has to lead. Is that true?
Yes.
Break it down one time. Just give it to it in 3 minutes, and then I promise we'll walk out of here with it.
Well, that's part of what I just said about those reframes. And then you
Okay.
feel your shoulders drop and your breath begin to
Exactly.
reset, right?
Okay.
Everything is going to start in the body and build up. Has anyone ever been angry before? Yeah, it starts in the body and then it builds and builds and builds and comes out your mouth and out of your fists and whatever. So, when you learn to calm your body system, one of the best ways is through breath work. When you learn to calm your body system, then real healing begins, because you cannot heal if you're running around being reactionary to everything, because you are not present. You are living in the past of your trauma, or you are spiraling into the trauma drama of your future that doesn't even exist yet, which you're manifesting, by the way. But the only way to heal is to be in the present moment, to look at what's actually happening with clarity, which is that. So, for example, you get into that fight in the middle of the day. Why are you still in the morning? Why are you still living there in the middle of the day, right? You're in the past. You're not in the present, so you can't heal. If you just focus on the fact that you're at work and you're enjoying lunch with your friends and then you're really present with them, then you would not be spiraling into the future worrying about what's going to happen when you get home, and you would not be worrying about what happened that morning. In order to do that, you have to calm the nervous system back down. You ride that fight, flight, or freeze mode all throughout the day, never calm, putting other things in its place, right? Overwork, that's where the burnout comes in. That's where the overworking comes out,
Yeah.
right? Oh, if I just keep doing this, I'll distract myself. No, if you just be present, then you won't have the problem, because in the present, that's where you find the solution. That's where the healing can happen. Take deep breaths, exhale longer than you inhale, and just start there. Just start there. Just breath work
Whew.
alone will start to clarify the mind. When the mind gets clarified, you can understand what direction you're supposed to take without being reactionary. Reactionary behaviors perpetuate the problem that you don't want, always.
Wow, that's good. Farah, that's my coworker. She said yes, part 3. She wants a part 3. All right. So
I
she
love that.
listen, ways to support. Y'all see there at the bottom, Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, if you all would like to support this platform, so we can continue to bring this type of content to you and take it even farther. I think this type of content needs to be on an international stage. I think so many people need to hear these types of conversations, not a lot of the muck and the mire that are really keeping our people from going forward. And they're keeping us stuck in states of stagnation. And it's a trick. And as long as we continue to take that bait, we're going to, like I told you earlier, when you continue to go with what you know, you always end up where you were. Now, listen, that's the podcast.theintellectualstew.com. Please, ma'am, please, sir, go there, check it out. I built that site. So if you need somebody to build a site for you, I got you for real. But you can go check out any of the old episodes, all of those types of things. You are welcome to do that. All right. Like I said, you can support there at the bottom, and ways to support like I say, anything you all give would be greatly appreciated. Now,
Didn't you just launch a new product?
I did launch I launched a couple of new products. I launched one product that I'm trying to do that a lot of these conversations are centered around, called the Divorce Reset Recovery System. Now that is it's really aimed towards women who have gone through divorce and need to recalibrate, and want to kind of get through that 90-day period. It's actually, it's got a 7-day free trial. So if you want to check it out, you're welcome to do that. But it's called the Divorce Reset Recovery System. And I really put a lot of work into that as well. So I did launch that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I probably wouldn't have said anything about it. I wouldn't have. But it's what it is. I don't even have. Do I have a? No, I only have a banner. It's called the Divorce Reset Recovery. In fact, I probably can show it to you quicker than I can tell you about it. Let me see. Divorce. How you spell divorce? I'm joking. I can spell. I can spell. Hold on. Here it is. Let me share my screen, and I'll show y'all what it looks like right quick. But you can go to this page. It's called the Divorce Reset Recovery System. Divorce is disruption, recalibration is a decision. So it's not only about divorce, but it's about breakups, deals with post-divorce instability, all those types of things. Go to the page, check it out, Divorce Reset Recovery System.com. I'm gonna get Ann to look at it, look over it and everything and make sure we're good. So I feel pretty confident about that. All right. Y'all check that out. Check it out. And I'm gonna get you back up here. Because I know you like that look better, right? I should have had that at the beginning. All right, so Ann, go ahead. I'm gonna give you the floor. Tell them who you are. Tell them how they can follow you. If you want to give them any last minute nuggets tonight, I'm gonna give that to you, and then I will come back and I'll close out the show.
Well, I can be found on socials at the Emotion Coder and Analexis Holistic on YouTube, as well as my website, Analexis Holistic. And if there's any nugget that I could leave with you all tonight, it's to recognize that you are not society's, like, what do I want to say? Channel it to me, Lord. Stop seeking validation from people you don't value. If you're really ready to do the work, it starts inside of you. That's it.
Well, you heard it from her mouth. You heard it. It all starts inside of you. And I'm going to let you go. And I'm going to close out the show. And I appreciate you so much. We'll see you next time, hopefully real soon. All right. All right, y'all. I am super, super, uber excited about tonight's show. I promise you I am. I'm going to get some reels together and I'll put those out in the next couple of days. I'm gonna talk to her. I'm gonna see if I can get her to do a part 3 next week. Y'all, if you cross your fingers, we got a week head start. So maybe they haven't scheduled maybe her clients haven't scheduled that time yet. But let's keep our fingers crossed. And maybe she'll bless us with her presence again on next week. And those who know me know I've been praying for I'm not gonna say that out loud. I don't want to jinx it. But I'm excited about tonight's show. If you were blessed by tonight's show, tell somebody, share this. Let somebody know that shame is a liar. You can rebuild if you do the work. And tonight we've left equipped with some tools that we can use, portable, practical, and powerful tools that we can use to take us to the next level. I'm James Kirkland, aka the Mind Massager. It's been real. And as I always say on my way out the door, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and I'll see y'all next time.
Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true.
Marriage for him is like making mashed potatoes.
Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light,
Let me ask you
the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view.